Week 16 starts, sits, and streamers. I've created 6 categories to find the best plays for your Week 16 matchups. I got the boom bust play of the week, the player with the best matchup of the week, the player you cannot start under any circumstances, my favorite streaming option of the week, the rookie of the week, and the game breaker of the week. Let's start with the boom bust play. This is a guy with a high ceiling, low floor. He can either give you 30 points or he can give you 3 points. That's going to be Calvin Ridley this week against the Colts. He's coming off a dud performance against the Bengals in a game where Will Levis was benched. But Calvin Ridley has had some boom games with both Will Levis and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Week 8 against the Lions, Rudolph was playing at quarterback. Calvin Ridley caught 10 passes, 143 yards. He was targeted 15 times. Ridley's target share has been pretty consistently elite since DeAndre Hopkins has been traded to the Chiefs. His 13% target share in Week 15 was his lowest since Week 3. The matchup this week against the Colts are a top half matchup for wide receivers this year. The game is going to be played in the Dome on the artificial turf. That's a great environment for Calvin Ridley. And when Ridley played against the Colts in Week 6, he was targeted 8 times. However, he wasn't able to secure any of those 8 targets, and he gave us 0 production, hence the boom bust designation for Calvin Ridley. But he can explode at any time. He's number 1 in air yards. He's number 3 in deep targets, number 6 in average target distance. He's also top 10 in receptions of 20 yards or more. He's had 3 weeks with more than 20 fantasy points. Calvin Ridley is the ultimate boom bust play for Week 16. I think you can fire him up this week against the Colts. The best matchup on the slate for any position. This is the player with the most exploitable matchup. Easy peasy. It's James Conner. The Panthers continue to be the easiest matchup for the running back position. We saw that last week. Rico Dowdle just ran for his season high 149 yards against them. And they've allowed a running back to reach 120 rushing yards in 3 straight games. And they've done that in 5 of the last 6. Kareem Hunt was the only one who failed to get there. James Conner was the RB1 overall in Week 15. He gave us 30 fantasy points. He ran 16 times for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. He got 5 of 5 targets for 28 yards. He's averaging 21 opportunities per game over the last 3 weeks. That's turned out to be 21.4 fantasy points per game over that stretch as the RB2. And now he's got Amari DiMercado on IR. Trey Benson could be out with an ankle injury as well, which could be even more reason to not take James Conner off the field. The Cardinals are going to lean on James Conner in this game. They should get out to a lead against the Panthers. Garbage time. They're going to want to grind the clock, run the football, fire up James Conner. He is the start of the week. He could end up being the RB1 overall when things are all said and done for Week 16. The must-sit player, this is the guy you cannot put in your lineup no matter what. That is Jameson Williams against the Bears. Jameson Williams has been a boom-bust play all season long. Mostly bust, but some boom. But he hasn't scored inside the top 24 wide receivers since Week 11. Before that, it was all the way back in Week 6, the last time he finished as a top 24 wide receiver. Now he has a matchup against the Bears, who are one of the 3 or 4 toughest matchups for wide receivers this year. And when the Lions played the Bears back in Week 13 on Thanksgiving, Jameson Williams caught 5 of 7 targets, but that was only for 28 receiving yards. He was just 9.6 fantasy points. He was the wide receiver 43 on the week. That was his lowest yardage total since Week 7 and his fewest fantasy points since Week 10. But not only are the Bears a tough matchup on their own, but this game is going to be played outdoors in the elements in Chicago on natural grass. Jameson Williams won't have the benefit of that perfect conditions on a track field for this game. Jameson Williams has not played a single game outside all season. He was suspended. Remember, he was suspended for that Week 9 game against the Packers in the snow and the elements. He wasn't there for that one. And he totaled 53 yards in 4 games played outside last season. 53 yards total over 4 games played outdoors in 2023. The argument on the other side to play Jameson Williams is one, the defense is absolutely riddled with injuries for the Lions and they're going to give up some points. Even against the Bears, are going to give up some points. And Dave Montgomery is out. Therefore, they're going to pass the ball more. And while that may be true, I'll give you that. That may be true. But that is going to favor Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. This is just not the type of game that is going to favor the play style of a Jameson Williams. He's not going to be able to exploit that track speed, make those big plays down the field, those deep crossers. It's just not going to work in this game environment, especially now that Tim Patrick has emerged as another option in that offense. Sit Jameson Williams at all costs in Week 16. The streamer of the week. This is the under the radar play, the guy you can probably find on your waiver wire or on your bench. This is Brenton Strange. He played in place of Evan Ingram last week. He ran 82% of the routes, had a 28% target share. He was targeted 12 times, caught 11 of those passes for 73 yards. And Matt Jones has proved competent enough to fuel our fantasy assets. And there aren't many left of those in Jacksonville. Gabe Davis is out. Evan Ingram's out. Christian Kirk is out. There's not much left there. Not much left, which means less target competition for a guy like Brenton Strange. He should operate as the number 2 option in the passing game, as he did in Week 15. We just saw the results of that. The Raiders are the 5th easiest matchup for tight ends, according to adjusted fantasy points allowed. They're allowing a per-game average of 6 receptions, 65 yards, and half a touchdown to the position. And Brenton Strange has finished as a top 10 tight end in 4 of the 5 games without Evan Ingram this season. He's averaged 4.6 receptions, about 39 receiving yards, and 11 PPR points per game during those games. And if we extrapolate that for an entire season, that would work out to making Brenton Strange a top 7 tight end for the year. He is by far the best streaming option you're going to find at this point in the season. Pick up Brenton Strange. Start Brenton Strange with confidence. Great matchup. Great play this week. Great role. Fire him up. The rookie of the week. This is the best rookie play. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the obvious guys like a Brian Thomas Jr. Let's go a little bit deeper. How about Jalen McMillan? He has scored as the wide receiver 9 and the wide receiver 18 over the last 2 weeks, combining for 9 catches on 13 targets, 134 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and more than 40 fantasy points in PPR scoring. That came on target shares of 25% and 23%, his 2 season highs. And Baker Mayfield is playing well. He's playing good football. He's throwing aggressive. He's throwing with confidence. He's playing really, really well. It's just seeing the field so clearly, finding these open receivers. That includes Jalen McMillan. We've seen rookie wide receivers get hot late in the season before. Remember Amon-Ra St. Brown a few years ago? Amon-Ra St. Brown went on an absolute tear at the end of the year. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Jalen McMillan is anything close to Amon-Ra St. Brown. However, we've seen the pattern of these rookies get hot in the second half of the year and be able to go on a run. Maybe this is the start of a run for Jalen McMillan. And Cade Otton has been phased out of the Buccaneers offense. They really do need that number 2 option opposite Mike Evans. Maybe Brenton Strange, not Brenton Strange. Maybe Jalen McMillan can be that guy. He's emerging as that guy. The matchup this week, Tampa Bay against the Cowboys. That's the highest point total of the week. And the Cowboys are the 11th easiest matchup for the wide receiver position, according to adjusted fantasy points. The Cowboys defense is dealing with a number of injuries, including to starting cornerback Trevon Diggs, who just was put on IR. He's out for the season. Jalen McMillan is a top 36 option this week. You can fire him up. And the game breaker of the week. This is the player who will absolutely smash. You already know who it is. Jahmyr Gibbs. It's easy. A couple of weeks ago, I came on here and I talked about Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions running backs as a whole, having the easiest schedule for the running back position in the fantasy playoffs. And this matchup against the Bears was one of the reasons why. The Bears are strong against the pass, but they are about the 6th easiest matchup for the running back position. Now Jahmyr Gibbs is by himself in that backfield with David Montgomery out for the season with a knee injury. In 2 games that David Montgomery missed in 2023, Jahmyr Gibbs combined for 51 touches, 315 total yards, 2 touchdowns, and he finished as the RB3 and the RB1. Even with a healthy David Montgomery in the lineup this year, Jahmyr Gibbs is still the RB4 in fantasy points per game. He's already over 1,000 rushing yards. He ranks 5th among running backs in receiving yards and 2nd in total touchdowns. And with how injured the Lions defense is right now, the Lions will need to score a bunch of points, which is only going to help Jahmyr Gibbs go absolutely nuclear over these next 2 weeks. If you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you are feeling so good about your chances, not only of winning in Week 16, but winning your championship. He is the locked-in RB1 for Week 16, and he will likely be the highest scoring player in fantasy football.